Hello everyone, so welcome back. In the last lesson we discussed about the condition of agriculture sector and industrial sector in our economy at the time of independence. Now in today's lesson we're going to discuss about the condition of foreign trade, demographic condition, occupational structure, infrastructure, positive and negative impact of the British rule. So now let's get started with the very first thing, that is the impact of the foreign trade, right? How foreign trade got affected when Britishers came in our country. So we know when before the advent of British rule, our country was very much sufficient in food grain, and our country had a very good link with the foreign nation in terms of foreign trade. But when Britishers came to our country, they destroyed all our handicraft industries and left us in a vulnerable condition and made us to be dependent on their country for the purpose of finished product. So now let's see what kind of steps or policies that Britishers adopted and how did it actually affected our foreign trade. So our status was completely got converted from the exporter of finished product to an importer of finished product, right? So you see what we started exporting products like raw silk, cotton, wool, sugar, indigo and jute, and we became importer for the finished product or consumer good like cotton clothes, silk clothes and woolen clothes and capital goods like light machinery. So this is how their policies actually affected our foreign trade as well. Now let's look at the second way through which they controlled our foreign trade, that is monopoly control of British rule. Right. So first of all, we need to understand the meaning of monopoly. It basically refers to that system wherein an individual person is actually capturing the entire market share. Right. So during that period of time, Britishers had the entire control of foreign trade of our economy. Now how did they actually had monopoly control of our foreign trade? Now let's talk about that in detail. So our foreign trade, more than half of our India's foreign trade got restricted to Britain only, and the remaining was allowed with countries like China, Sri Lanka and Iran. And this monopoly control of the Britishers was further got strengthened when they opened this Suez Canal in the year 1869. Why? Because this actually served as a direct rule for the Britishers to transport finished product from their economy to our economy and to take raw material from our economy to their home economy. As you can see in the picture, there is this image showing the route of Suez Canal. Earlier, the Suez Canal route was used to take place from this way. Now, after the opening up of Suez Canal, you can see there is this shorter route that can be seen in this map. This is much shorter as compared to the earlier one, right? So this shorter route actually served Britishers to a great extent to have a monopoly control over India's foreign trade. Why? Because this Suez Canal not only reduced the timing but also reduce the transportation cost for the British government. So this is how this also assisted British government to have a monopoly control over the India's foreign trade. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the drain of India's wealth during the British rule. Now we know we were the countries who were actually exporting a huge amount of raw material, but out of that raw material we were able to generate good amount of revenue also, but that revenue was not resulted in any positive impact in the development of our economy. Why? Because the entire surplus, the entire revenue used to be utilized by the Britishers only for the following purposes. As you can see, the very first was they would make payment for the expenses incurred by the offices set up by the colonial government. Next, they would incur expenses on the war fought by the British government at that period of time, or they would just pay the bill for the import of the invisible item. So this is how drain of India's wealth actually went to British government. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the demographic condition during that period of time. So first of all, we need to understand the meaning of demographic. What do we mean by this term demographic? So as you can see, it basically stand for the structure of population. So what all are we going to understand here? We'll talk about the level of birth rate, death rate, literacy rate, and poverty, and IMR, life expectancy ratio. So all these things we're gonna discuss under this demographic condition at that period of time. So as we've seen, the meaning of the demographic is the structure of the population. And before that, you must be knowing that the first official census that was conducted in our country was in the year 1881, and 1921, this data also you need to remember. 1921 was also the year that is known as the year of Great Divide. Why it is known as the year of Great Divide, that we'll understand after we understand the following stages of demographic transition. So what you are seeing in the front of the screen, these four stages are actually showing demographic transition. What do we mean by the term demographic transition? Demographic transition basically shows a different level of birth rate, death rate in any economy. So that level of birth rate and death rate are depicted in four different stages. So what happens in the very first stage, as you can see, in the very first stage, when the country is completely underdeveloped basically. So when the country is in the very first stage, both death rate and birth rate are very high, and when both death rate and birth rate are very high, population is going to remain constant, right? P bar meaning constant. It will not be very much high. And in the second stage, what actually happens, as the economy keeps moving on to the path of the progress, on to the path of development, death rates start falling, but birth rate fall remains high. Birth rate remains high only. It doesn't fall to that extent. So here what happens, population starts falling but not much, right? And what happens in the third stage? In the third stage, economy start moving on to the next stage on the path of the development, right? So in this case, we start opening up more hospitals, and we start providing more education to the people. So in this process, we get this sense that how much education and medical facilities are important for any person, right? So because of all these facilities, death rate starts falling very drastically, but the fall of the birth rate is not that much high, right? So birth rate declines gradually, whereas death rate declines very drastically. And in this stage, we witness population explosion problem, right? Population explosion problem we get to see in the third stage only. So like countries, India and China, we are the countries where we are actually we can say that we are lying in the third stage. We are where the population is very high. And in the fourth stage, both birth rate and death rate become very low. So we can say in this stage, country become very developed, and when countries move on to the next stage, in here we start witnessing low birth rate and low death rate. And in this stage, population becomes very constant. Sometimes it can also be in the negative. It doesn't grow at all, right? So this is about the demographic condition, and in the next slide we're going to talk about different data of the demographic condition, like birth rate, death rate, and IMR, etc. So now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the demographic data at the time of independence. So now let's look at the data of birth rate, death rate, literacy, and so on. So as you can see in the screen, birth rate at that period of time was very high, and death rate was also very high. It was as high as 48 and 40 respectively. Literacy rate, you see, in today's time it is approximately 75 to 80%. 75 to 80% people in our country are now literate enough, but at that period of time, during the time of independence, the total literacy rate was 17%, of which female were only 7% and 10% male. IMR stand for infant mortality rate. That actually refers to the number of children who die before reaching to the age of 1 year. So that was also very high. It was approximately 218 per thousand. And life expectancy, you see, life expectancy was that at that period of time was 32 years only. But now in our country life expectancy is somewhere in 70, right? And that time there was a widespread poverty also. One example you can see in 1943 there was a Bengal famine in which 3 million meaning 30 lakh people were actually killed. So this was about demographic transition or condition of our economy at the time of independence. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the occupational structure. Occupational structure basically refers to the distribution of working people across different industries. As you can see here, at that period of time approximately 75% people were engaged in agriculture sector, right? So this is the area, yeah, 75% people were engaged in agriculture area, and these are the area where we actually saw that like in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, these were the area where people were mainly found engaged in agriculture areas. But with time we saw that there had been decline in the dependence of workforce in the agriculture sector with an increase in the manufacturing and service sector. So with time we started seeing that people started getting engaged in other areas also, like in manufacturing and tertiary sector. So just see areas like Orissa, Rajasthan, and Punjab, there we actually saw the increase in the share of workforce in agriculture during the same period of time. Now, just have a look here. These are the areas where we saw decline in the agriculture sector, whereas these are the area where we saw people started engaging themselves in agriculture area, right? So this blinking portion. So now let's talk about the condition of infrastructure at the time of independence. We know that the Britishers never put any sincere effort to to make investment in our country for the development of infrastructure. But there were some areas where they did develop, where they did put investment to develop certain things. But it was all done to serve their own motive. Like they constructed roads, railways, but it was only for the purpose of their to serve their own motive. Like they constructed road to mobilize their army to transport raw materials, and there was also shortage of all weather roads, because of which they had the constructed roads in our country. They also started railways in the year 1850, but it was also built to control and have a better administrative role in the vast country, and to earn profit through foreign trade and to make investment of British funds. So these were the reasons because of which they actually constructed or built these infrastructure in our country, just to serve their own purpose and not to serve our nation. Now, though they built roads and railways for their own purpose, but somewhere indirectly construction of railway did benefit our Indian economy also. So what were the benefits of railways in our economy? It somewhere made long distance easy. It also broke geographical and cultural barriers. It promoted national integration, enabled commercialization of agriculture, and also promoted foreign trade. So these were the areas where we can see we somewhere gained advantage of railways indirectly. Now there were also some areas where they put they did some development, like air and transport and then communication. Air and transport canal on Orissa coast built at a huge cost, but it failed completely but it failed to complete with railways. Like the way railways progressed, it did not grow much, air and transport. Whereas if we talk about communication thing, electric telegraph helped to maintain law and order. Postal services were also useful, but they were inadequate. So these were the areas where they put some efforts to develop the economy. Now, when we talk about the communication, in the communication, they built postal services in our country in the year 1837, and telegraph was built in 1857. Both these serve the purpose of maintaining law and order. Postal services, despite serving a useful public purpose, remained all through inadequate. We've already gone through this statement. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the negative impact of British rule in our country. So whatever we discussed so far, it was all about the negative impact only, and there hasn't been any positive impact that we've studied so far. In the next slide, we'll be talking about the positive impact of British rule in our country. So as you can see, the very first low level of economic development we saw, there was very low national income and per capita income also. There was lack of modernization of industries also. They did not put any kind of investment in the heavy in developing the capital industries in our country. There was poor demographic indicators. We've recently studied about the poor demographic indicators, like there were high birth rate, high death rate, very high poverty, low literacy rate, and high infant mortality rate, and economic drain. Economic drain meaning whatever export surplus that used to be generated in our country, that entire surplus used to be used by the Britishers to serve their own purpose only, and there wasn't any areas where they had actually utilized that amount of surplus to make investment in our country. Then infrastructure development, to have a better control, they did develop infrastructure in our country, but it was mainly to serve their own purpose and not to serve our purpose, right? And then there was destruction of handicraft industry. In the very beginning of the lesson we talked about this. And foreign trade, farming, export of raw material, and import of finished goods. These are all the negative impact that we witnessed during the British rule. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the positive impact. As such, we really don't think that there should be any kind of positive impact, but somewhere indirectly some of the Britishers' contribution did have some positive benefit in our country also. So this is what we are going to look at. So let's move on to the next slide and talk about the positive impact. So now let's talk about the positive impact of British rule in our country. As you can see, these are the following positive impact that we gonna discuss in detail. So the very first is self-sufficiency in food grain. So we know that before the advent of British period, our farmers used to produce only for their self-consumption purpose. But when they actually enforced commercialization of agriculture in our country, our farmers somewhere realize that they have the potential to produce not just for their self consumption purpose, but also beyond that level. They also have the potential to grow their production, which they can sell it in the market and thereby can earn revenue. So this is how this had a positive impact in self-sufficiency in food grain production. Another is better means of transportation, like roads and railways. These all somewhere opened up new opportunity for the economic and social growth in our country. Then the third is effective administrative setup. So we know that when Britishers came in our country, they had a very huge impact. Administratively, they were very effective, because of which they could rule in our country for approximately 200 years. So that was third. So this effective administrative setup somewhere helped our politician also to work in the same manner. Now the fourth is control on famines. Control on famines, like this. We could now have a better check on famines because of the development of roads and railways. Why? Because wherever there was any famine kind of problem, we could readily send food grain to that particular area with the help of railways and better road connectivity. So this is how this also somewhere assisted our economy to have a better check on famines. Fifth is commercialization of agriculture. That is like somewhere same as the first case. We can mention the same thing. And the last is growth of monetary system. Monetary system, like dealing transaction in terms of money. So before, our country was very much here. People in our country were very much involved in barter system of exchange. Whereas when Britishers came in our country, they helped our people to move on from the barter system of exchange to the monetary system, which is now we know is a better way of doing transaction monetary, and we know what kind of drawbacks were there in the barter system exchange. So these are the positive area that we can jot down when we have to write about the positive impact of British rule in our country. So somewhere this can be highlighted. This is how we can actually sum up the positive impact. So this chapter is now over. In the next lesson, we'll be talking about Indian economy from the period 1950 to 1990. So 1950 to 1990. So this entire chapter that we finished, it was about before 1950, right? Now the next chapter, in the next chapter, we'll be dealing about the condition of our economy, what kind of rules, regulations, policies, and steps were brought in by our government to promote growth of our economy. So this entire thing will be discussed in detail in the next chapter, and the name of the chapter would be Indian economy from 1950 to 1990.
So that's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.